Today, I have an awesome top to share with you guys. It is this super versatile Dolman top. It looks great sewn up in just about any fabric, and it's got a nice, easy, loose fit to it. So you can see this one is in a light drapey fabric, and the one I have on is in a thicker, sturdier fabric, but it works in both. So if you have a skirt or a pair of pants and you don't have the perfect top for it, this pattern is great for a quick sew. Find some fabric that matches and sew it up. The first thing we need to do is print out our pattern. Today I'm going to be using the large format copy. You can also download the home printer version and print it out on your home printer, cut and tape it together. Both of the patterns are exactly the same, no matter what version you print out. And this pattern is only one pattern piece. It's the same pattern piece for front and for back. Before you cut out your size, make sure you check your bust and waist measurement with the size so that way you cut out the correct one. Now that you have your pattern cut out, it should look something like this. Today, I'm going to be sewing it up out of this really lightweight French terry. This pattern is great for spring, so grab a spring fabric and let's cut it out. This pattern is cut to on fold. So if you were to place it right here on fold right now, you would be cutting a giant hole in the center of your fabric, and then we would have all this wasted fabric over here. So what we're going to do is create two folds. So you're going to open up your fabric, and we're going to create one fold on one side. And we're going to create another fold on the other side. So now we have two folds on the fabric. I want to mention that laying out a fabric and creating two folds in it really depends on how wide the fabric is. You're not going to be able to do this for all widths of fabric. So sometimes you are going to have to lay out the pattern twice, one right below the other one. Now I'm going to cut out both of my pieces on fold one at a time. Now you should have two pieces that look like this. This is really looking like a shirt already. Now that it's all cut out, it is time to start sewing. The first step to sewing this shirt together is finishing all of our edges. I'm going to be using the serger today, so I'm going to serge all of my edges except the neck because I'm going to be putting a bias facing up here later. And if you don't want to put a bias facing on your neck, I'm also going to show you another way to finish the neck. And don't forget, if you don't have a serger, you can finish your edges with the zigzag, the overcast, you could bias bind your seams or create French seams. I'm going to serge up all the edges except the neck. All finished. Now that all of our edges are finished, it's time to start sewing it together. Now we're going to place right sides together, so place them right on top of each other, and they should match up perfectly because it was the same pattern piece. And now what we need to do is pin up the side seams here and sew that together, and then we're going to pin up the shoulders and sew the shoulders together. And we're going to do that on both sides. All pinned up. Now you're going to sew up those edges you just pinned at 1/2 inch. Right now I'm sewing up the shoulder seam at 1/2 inch. I'm going to back stitch at the beginning here. Just work my way all the way down the seam, making sure I take out those pins before I get to them. Back stitch at the end and cut. So you should have a nice 1/2 inch seam on your shoulder. Now I'm going to move to the underarm side seam, which is all one. Back stitch at the beginning. Work your way around that curve carefully, just keeping it lined up with the 1/2 inch. Back stitch at the end. And now I'm going to sew the other shoulder. Now that we have our seams sewn up, it's time to iron them open. We're going to iron these open so that way when we're hemming later, it's going to be less bulky because they're ironed open. And you're going to do that to all of your seams that you just sewed. And now all of our seams are ironed open. Now it's time to hem our sleeves and the bottom opening of the shirt. For the hem of my shirt, I'm going to fold it up a 1/2 inch and I'm just going to stitch in the serge. So this is called a single folded hem. You've got options here though. You could do a rolled hem, you could do a blind hem, you could add bias binding here or create a bias facing as well. A single folded hem is the easiest way to hem something, minus just leaving that serge there. And the type of hem you choose is also dependent on the type of fabric you choose for your blouse. And if you want to learn more about all of those hems, make sure you check out the Sew Anastasia Sewing Academy 101 course. Okay, let's hem this shirt up. A great tip for getting a perfect hem is using your seam gauge to make sure you're folding it up a 1/2 inch, iron it down, and pin it in place. Starting at one of my side seams, make sure you back stitch here. See how easy that was to sew over since we ironed it? Add a few back stitches and cut. And for my sleeve hem, I'm just folding these up 3/8 of an inch. Back stitch and cut. Let's check out our beautiful hems. Here's our 1/2 inch hem on the bottom of the shirt. And then here's our 3/8 of an inch hem on the sleeves. So now all we need to do is finish the neck. And for this, I am going to demo 2 variations. I'm going to demo just turning under that serge because it can be a little tricky around that neck. It's kind of got like a boat neck, right? And I'm also going to demo how to create a bias facing on this neck. You could also bias bind it as well. First, let's go over the single folded hem. For the single folded hem, it's really important that the serge only folds over 1/4 of an inch or whatever your edge finish was, because if it tries folding over anymore, it's not going to work around the curve and it's going to get all bunchy and caught up. So when we do this, we have to make sure that we are folding it just 1/4 of an inch and stitching it down. I'm starting at the shoulder seam and I have it folded in just that 1/4 of an inch. So we're going to add a few back stitches, and as you go, keep folding this. And I like to hold the fabric over to the left so that way it doesn't want to pop out to the right. And we're just going to carefully, slowly work our way all the way around this hem. Engage your needle down button, so every time you stop to readjust, your needle's in the fabric. And if you don't have that in your machine, just take your hand wheel and pull the needle down into your fabric. Now readjust it so you just have that 1/4 inch. Basically, you're going to keep doing this every 2 inches until you're done with the neckline. When you get to the other shoulder seam, make sure your seam allowance is pressed open when you fold it over. Flatten it out, make sure you don't get any tucks in there. When you get back to where you started, overlap your stitches by a few, back stitch and cut. Now let's check out that beautiful hem at the neck we just created. So you can see on the outside that the stitch is about 1/8 of an inch away from the edge, and we have folded over that serge just 1/4 of an inch, and we've stitched right in the middle of it, and it's sewed beautifully around that curve. And the key to this is making sure you flip it under just 1/4 of an inch. You can also use a matching thread and you will never see that stitch there. It's gonna blend right into your project, but I wanted to make sure you could see it. Now I'm gonna show you how to sew a bias facing along this curved neckline. So grab some bias tape that matches your shirt. Now you want to start this with your shirt right side face up, and we're going to start at a shoulder seam. We're going to take our bias binding and we're going to open up the folds if you bought it pre-folded, and we're going to take the very end of it and we're going to fold it back about 1/4 of an inch, and we're just going to pin it right there where that shoulder seam is. And now we're going to work our way all the way around the neckline. So you want to make sure that your binding is open and the raw edge of the binding is matching with the raw edge of your shirt. We're just going to work our way all the way around the neckline. When you get back to where you started, we are going to overlap the binding. Keep pinning it. We're going to overlap it by about 1/2 of an inch, and then we can cut the rest off. So when we sew, we are going to sew with the folded edge overlapped by the other piece of binding, and make sure your seam allowance is flat open. Now we're going to head over to the sewing machine and we're going to sew right in that first crease, so about 1/4 of an inch away from the edge of the fabric. So my straight stitch on, and I'm going to back stitch here in the beginning, and I'm just going to work my way all the way around the neckline, making sure that I remove the pins before I get to them. Now when you get to the beginning where you started, overlap your stitches, add a few back stitches, and cut. Now that we have that first row of stitching in there, there's still one more row and a fold. So now it should look like that with that crease there in the fold. But now what we need to do is make sure we push the seam allowance here up towards the other piece of binding. We're going to fold over the binding about 1/4 of an inch, and then we're going to take the whole piece of binding and flip it to the inside of the shirt. And then what we're going to end up doing is edge stitching right there on the edge, and it's going to give us this nice clean finish on the inside. For this next step, turn your shirt inside out and let's pin it down. So fold over the binding once and twice. So you're kind of doing this like roll with the binding. Could be a little tricky to pin at the shoulder seam. Just do the best you can depending on how heavy your fabric is. And now we're just going to work our way all the way around the neckline. Now we're all pinned up and it's time to sew. So we're gonna add an edge stitch to that left fold, and we're just gonna work our way all the way around this neckline. Make sure you take out your pins before you get to them. You get back to where you started, back stitch, and cut. And we are all done sewing. We made a top just like that. Let's check out that neckline. On the outside, we have our stitch, and on the inside, we have our beautiful bias facing. Here it is. We finished that top, and it looks so good on the dress form. I just love this top, and it looks so different in all of the different fabrics. We've got different vibes here, but they all look great. This top is great for all body shapes and sizes. It's another reason I love it. It's a great fit for everyone. Now I'm gonna go try it on and give you some ideas for styling it. And here is the top on. I styled it with this really fun pink leopard skirt that I thrifted. Love it. And I love this top because it's so versatile. We can wear it down super cash. We can take it, we can tie it up in a knot here on the side. We can totally change the look of this top really easy. This version of the top is made of a really lightweight rayon fabric, and you can really see how it flows differently compared to the French terry. And I've also paired it with the midi skirt. So we made this pattern a few patterns back. So it It looks really good with a fitted skirt because the blouse is looser. This would also look really cute tucked in, giving you like a blousey look. And to top off the look, you can wear last month's pattern, the zipper jacket with it. You've got a complete layered look. You've got your skirt, your blouse, and your jacket. And for the last look, this top is made out of a textured sweatshirt fabric. So again, very casual, just looks great with some jeans, just bumming around the city, running errands, nice casual look. But when you get a compliment on the top, you get to say you made it. I just love the texture on this one. It's so fun to play around with different fabrics in this pattern because the pattern's really simple, but you can really have a lot of fun with your fabrics. Thanks so much for watching Sewing Anastasia today and sewing the Dolman top with me. If you have any questions at all, leave it down below and I'll get back with you as soon as I can. And I would love to know what other patterns would you like to see? Leave that down below in the comments as well. And if you're in Chicago, come on into the design studio and take a sewing class with me. Or if you're not, that's okay. Make sure you check out my online classes. Links for everything are down below in the description. And let's stay connected on social. Make sure you add me on Instagram and check out those stories because I'm always posting what's going on in the studio. And don't forget, you can download the pattern at sewinganastasia.com and it comes in sizes extra small through 6X. And I can't wait to see what your Dolman top ends up looking like. So make sure you tag me in photos or email me over a photo. I would love to see. And if you're a part of the sewing club, well, make sure you post photos of your work in the Discord. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.